Welcome to the Guthrie Family Podcast. I'm Danny and this is Haley. We are a parenting and relationship podcast, and today we're going to be talking about teaching your children responsibility.
Right. So we feel like it's very important to teach our children to be responsible. We see in this world there are a lot of young adults that are not able to do some basic things.
Like cook.
Yes. And we do not want that for our children. Right. So a lot of y'all are on the same page with us on that. And, the question becomes, number one, why is it important? Mm-hmm. So really the number one reason why this is important is that in order for your kids to learn that things and labor has value is to actually do it.
Right.
So if you're...
And they learn responsibility through having
right.
to do something and
right.
Getting a reward for it. And one of the reasons a lot of young adults don't, and this has been a big thing, like even the terminology parenting, I think has come from that, because there's a lot of young parents that are using the terminology, like I've got to parent today. But a lot of that idea or that thought process is coming from what they used to call, or I think they still do, helicopter parenting. Whereas your parent stood over you, kind of did everything for you, so you really didn't learn. They didn't allow you to learn, how they didn't want you to cook, or they didn't want you to do things. They didn't want you to hurt yourself or make mistakes. Everybody gets a trophy. It's that type of helicopter parenting that has produced children who are young adults now that feel like, well, today I have to parent, or, I don't have to parent. My kids are at daycare, so I don't have to parent then. But it's being able to teach your kids responsibility, so when they do get older, they become very independent.
Right. And so what we don't want for our children, and not that we're going to push them out the door, but what we don't want is for them to turn 20 and 21 and 22 and still be living here and expecting me to fix their meals and do their laundry and such. I really want them to be independent, because independence does cause you to give you some satisfaction, I guess, in life.
Well, it creates confidence also.
Right. And so in order to be a successful person, you have to learn to do things for yourself. No one is going to be happy having someone do things for them all the time. Now, they may act as if they're happy. They may think that it may make them feel loved for people to do things for them, but to not have independence does not create true happiness and success. So there's two types of duties or responsibilities, and one is a duty responsibility. These are marked out in Gary Ezzo's book, Child-Wise. Right. So there's two types of responsibilities. There's duty labor and there's purchasing labor.
Right.
So duty labor are things that you do around the house because you are a team member. You are a member of this family. We are a team. We do things together. So if you're not allowing your kids to participate in things, they are not actually a member of the team of your family.
Or you're giving them duties to do.
Right.
We grew up with, you have your chores to do.
Right.
And what he's talking about is the same thing as chores. It's just, this is going to be your duty. This is completely up to you. This falls on you to do.
Well, there's a key difference here. One, you're paid for it. One you're paid for, and the other you're not paid for. A duty is something you do as a team member. So we all eat here, so therefore we're all responsible for helping fix the meal,
right.
Cleaning up after the meal, helping prepare for the next, meal time.
Right.
We all live here, so that we all clean up the bathroom, we all sweep the floor, and so we all have chores to take care of ourselves.
Right. Yeah. And if you see something laying on the floor, you don't walk over it. You pick it up and go put it in the trash.
You don't walk over it, but sometimes people do. This is something that's very hard to teach, but it is something we can teach. So there's that type of responsibility, and then the second type is purchasing labor or purchase labor, and this is where you actually give your child a job and you say, if you do this, I'll give you money.
Right.
So in the book, Gary Ezzo lays out where he tells his kids that for each bucket, and he gave them a 5-gallon bucket, for each bucket of rocks that you pick out of the garden, I'll give you $1. And so that's what so each bucket, so they filled the bucket up.
Right.
Then realized they couldn't carry the bucket. So they realized they could only carry half a bucket, but they did it by half bucket. So if this was a labor intensive learning experience for them.
Duty.
Yeah, well, this was their purchasing labor, so he paid them.
Labor.
So then when they bought whatever it was that they bought, that it meant something to them, and they took really good care of it because they realized, I think it was something that was $25, and they said, we had to carry 25. Actually, we had to carry the
50.
bucket 50 times.
Yeah, because they could only fill. They couldn't carry it when it was full, so they had to only half fill it. So one full bucket's 2 trips.
Right.
So they coincided. They began to understand the value of money by understanding the value of work.
And so that's a big thing. And it's somewhat of a pet peeve of mine because some of our kids did not inherently care about their stuff or other people's stuff. And so when you have children that don't really take care of their toys, it's because it's never been given value. Now, some of that is taught. So we are teaching our children that. And we, if you tear something up, it doesn't get replaced just because you tore it up. I mean, that's a big thing to me.
And one of the things we do as far as purchasing value a lot of time is I ask the boys, actually the boys more than my older girls, because my older girls have other duties that they do, but to go clean up the yard. We say, hey, there's a bunch of trash in the yard, go pick it up. Give all 3 of them a bag and say, hey, go pick up the trash, clean it up. And we'll give you $1 or $5 or whatever. So we do a little bit of that with them. But actually around our house, most of the stuff that we do with them is more duty labor than actually purchasing labor. And I find that because what we believe in that is that it teaches them how to be a team player. The trash on the floor may not be yours, but there's trash on the floor, so pick it up and have pride in where you live, and so pick it up and go throw it in the trash. It doesn't matter if it's yours or not. But we, like with the dinner thing, Zoe, she does the dishes, and that's her duty. Molly helps with the laundry. And with 9 people in the house, it's a lot of laundry. So she helps with the laundry. And one of the things that it teaches them, it helps begin to teach them responsibility, because Zoe, she's doing for others, because she's not only doing her dishes, but she's doing everybody else's dishes. So it teaches them that sometimes you got to step up and do things for other people that may not have a huge benefit for you. And then with Molly, it teaches, it kind of teaches her the same thing, the responsibility. This stuff has to be done. We have to continue on with our lives. So it has to be done. And you live here, so we need your help in doing that. With the boys, after dinner, Jackson, he wipes off all the countertops and everything, and Jaden sweeps the floors.
Colton also wipes the countertops. Yeah, actually, he does it more often.
Yeah, so that kind of goes back and forth between them.
Well, and they're only 6. So again, you have to look at your child's age as to what they should be responsible for. And so, with Jaden, he's gotten really good at sweeping the floors. He hates it. Nobody loves their duty, but I mean, here's the reality of it. And this is what I tell them all the time. I don't love cleaning the bathrooms. Right. I don't love sweeping the floors. There's things in life that just has to be done, and you just do it. And if you make yourself do things that you don't enjoy, and they get done, you enjoy the finished product. And that's really what we're focusing on, is the finished product here. And so it's not that we don't want them to feel like, oh, okay, we got to do something again, but we want them to feel a responsibility to the family. And I do think that they appreciate that. So that when we have company over and we say, okay, so-and-so's coming over, and I give everybody a job, the little boys do the baseboards. Some of them will help with windows and things like that. They feel this, they're excited about helping us.
A sense of community that they've helped out, and it's not just they went and played and we clean the house, which that's not going to happen because we got too many people here for that. But that it teaches them that they're part of a larger group.
Right. And nobody likes to clean alone. So no one is asked to do something while everybody else sits around. And so, yeah, that's my pet peeve as a mom, is that I sometimes will do things and everybody else is sitting and having a good time, and then I'm resentful because I'm up cleaning or doing something, and we really just don't have that much here anymore. We've really tried to bring everybody into it. So we're all working together as a team. And what we've learned is that when we work together, it goes so much faster. Right. We enjoy it more. And we get it done, and we feel a sense of accomplishment.
And I think one of the things, one of the things that we've done with our children is we've allowed them to do things. And even though it might be easier for us to do it, and they may get it a little bit wrong, or they may not do it exactly how we do it, but we've allowed them to do things, and we didn't let them see us necessarily going behind them. Like if Jaden swept the floor, we didn't necessarily let him see us go behind him and sweep the floor again and get all the stuff that he missed, because we want him to feel like he did it. And if he does a terrible job, we'll definitely tell him, hey, you need to sweep the floor again. But if he does a decent job, we'll let it pass. We may pick up some small stuff after that, but just so he has that sense of accomplishment,
right,
and has that sense of responsibility. And that's what we're talking about today, is responsibility. But he has that sense of responsibility that not only does he have to do it, but he has to do a good job.
Right.
And that's very important to us. Not only that you do it, but you do a good job. Because one of the Bible verses that we teach our children all the time is, whatever your hand finds to do it unto the Lord.
Right.
And we really push that, and we really believe that.
Well, and as far as the kids go, a lot of times what I tell them, and they have no idea what I'm talking about, I said, you're going to be a good husband one day.
Right.
If I have to make you, you're going to be a good husband. And I know that they will be. They're going to learn how to work together as a team with their wife one day. And the little girls, I want them to be good wives one day, to know how to cook, to know how to clean, how to keep a clean house.
Right.
And that's all really important as far as finding a spouse and some of that, and just being happy. So what happens sometimes when we get married, we have expectations that the other person is going to do everything. And so what we're trying to teach them is teamwork and how to do things as a team. And also it helps around here a good bit with us having so many children. And people ask me, how in the world do you keep your house clean? Well, it's a priority for me.
Right.
I'm somewhat of I'm OCD about it a little bit, but
drives me crazy.
Yeah. It always has driven Danny crazy.
Not that I'm nasty. I'm not nasty. I'm just not as super clean as she is. I'm more organized, and she's more clean. I think we've talked about that before.
Right.
But
yeah, I'm happy to throw things in a drawer and shut it. And Danny, you open up his drawers and they're perfect, but you won't find a lot of dust on the floor and things dusty. So we just have different ways that we view the world, and we've tried to compromise on that somewhat.
Right.
But going back to children and responsibilities, I really encourage everyone to find things for their family to do together. And it is very important. This goes back to kind of what we talked about this last week about being on the same page with your spouse. Again, there's a lot of books you can read about responsibility. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People talk about having duties and responsibilities and how important that is as a person. The Child Wise book talks about this, and reading with your spouse and y'all coming up with a reasonable way, because a lot of this comes up, the kids are looking to the dad and the mom.
Right.
Like, are they working together? So, if you dads are sitting around while your wife and your children are working, you're not really setting a great example for your children. And so,
and it's always a lot. It's not necessarily that cleaning or anything like that is like super fun, but it always makes it a lot better if everybody's involved.
Right. And Danny may not sit around and vacuum and things like that unless I just really ask him to, but he may be working on the yard or things like that. But we all have responsibilities.
Right.
And the kids see us all working together for the final end of having things cleaned up.
Right.
And one of my friends, Angie, actually messaged me on Facebook. She has, I think 5 or 6 kids. I'm sorry, Angie, I can't remember, but she had messaged me about how important it was to teach your children responsibilities. Right. And I agree with her 100%. That is something we really feel like is important, and it's important to teach your children. And then as they age, you add to those responsibilities. And as they get older, it'll be more important to find things that you can pay them to do, because I think, them, receiving money for what they've done lets them know that they're worth, what they did was worth something. And again, you're teaching them the value of $1. Mm-hmm. When they're younger, they may not understand that 50 cents may mean absolutely nothing to them, or that $1. But as they age, that gets more and more important, and they're able to do more things that are outside of what we call our regular family duties.
Right, like buy their own gas, pay for their own insurance, pay for their own phone. So we'll support that by giving them more responsibility, and actually paying them for some of that responsibility. Like as long as Zoe lives here, she'll always wash the dishes, and that's always going to be. Well, I say always.
Well, we've offered her a different duty that she doesn't want it. We've told Molly and Zoe, you can always swap, but they don't want to. They like what they do.
You're used to it and sit in.
Right. And they do their own laundry. That's another thing, is the 2 big girls do their own laundry. And And they like to do their own laundry because they don't have to wait for me to do it or say, you know, I'm missing some pants or when are you going to do laundry next? There's none of that frustration.
It's their responsibility.
Right.
If you want clean clothes, then you need to go wash your clothes.
And we've recently bought Jaden a hamper. He's 8. He's 8.5. And anyway, just so that he can separate his clothes. And so I told him when it gets full or when he's starting to run low on clothes that he can bring them downstairs. We're going to help him sort them out and show him how to wash them. And we're going to work on this for about a year.
Right.
And then after a year, he should get to the point where he should be able to do it himself. And I know that seems, some of you are thinking, gosh, a 9-year-old, you know, doing their own laundry. But in reality, that's not really a big deal. It's not like you're having to fill a bucket full of water and, you know, scrub it on a scrub board like
Right.
the old days. I mean, you're hitting some buttons, which kids are really good at. And
Yeah,
you're
and
moving
all the
it.
little fill things have a line, like you stop
Yeah.
here, you fill it to here, you stop there. So it's
Well, that's what
pretty
we have
simple.
our year of training for. But I mean, I think that this is a pretty easy thing is doing laundry. He folds his clothes at this point. We lay them out so they don't wrinkle, and we lay them across his bed, and he folds them and puts them in his drawer. Now, does he do it the same way that I would do it? Probably not, but they're his clothes. So,
Right.
you know.
And that's one of the things we were talking about earlier about when you give them responsibility or you give them something to do, don't stand over them. Don't be a helicopter parent and stand over them and say, no, you have to do it this way. Now, you can, obviously, we promote teaching them and guiding them, but when they do it, let them do it.
Right.
And let that be it.
The only thing that has to be my way are the towels and the washcloths.
Which I think Molly or myself or Haley normally folds those.
Yeah, they do, and they don't see it when I change them in the cabinet because they're not all lined up. But
And another thing that I've done for the older girls is, I started letting them drive early. They started driving like at 10.
not on the roads.
Yeah. Well, not on the roads, just around property or on private property or wherever. But we started them. Haley and I, we know how to drive, manual cars. So we bought manual cars for them because I wanted them to always be confident that no matter where they are, no matter what car they had to drive, that they could drive it. You can't hardly find manual cars anymore, but we found some. And so both of my daughters, both 13 and 15, can drive a manual car. And the reason behind that was to teach them, number one, responsibility, teach them confidence, and for them to know that they can just about accomplish anything they want to accomplish. Not that that's a huge accomplishment, but that's something that they know how to do that a lot of people nowadays, a lot of adults nowadays don't even know how to do.
Right. And that's just one of the things with responsibility, and that helps us also because our trash can's by the road and our driveway's about
a half a mile.
So they can drive down and put the trash in the trash can. That keeps us from having to drive down to the trash can. Right. So they do that for us.
So it's their responsibility to take the trash out.
Right.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do, what we're all trying to do here as far as parents, we want to raise our children so that they can become responsible adults. And by giving them responsibility when they're young, and actually expecting some things out of them, even when they're really, really young, is not a bad thing. So when they're really young, a lot of times what we would do is we would allow them to make their own mistakes. So then they know there's consequences for their actions. I feel like they learn responsibility through that also, that, hey, if I do this, there's a consequence to my action. And they learn to be responsible for their actions. Like we've told them before that your actions affect everybody. Your actions do not only affect you, they affect everybody around you. And there's consequences to your actions. So when you choose to make these decisions, then it's not only going to affect you, but more than likely it's going to affect everybody. And you not only need to be responsible to yourself and for yourself with these decisions, but understand that you need to be responsible for everyone else also, because those decisions will more than likely affect everybody.
Right. That's exactly right. And that's the part of the responsibility as a family member and as a team member, is knowing that what you do affects everyone on your team. So if you make a good decision, everybody responds positively. If you make a bad decision and it affects everybody on your team, then your team, appropriately says, what are you doing? Why did you do that? So
come get the countertop wiped off so I can sweep.
Right.
So teach your children responsibility. Give them things to do. Give them responsibilities, and let them do them. And if they don't do them exactly the way that you want them done, let that be okay.
And don't expect them to be happy about it, especially if you have not had them or excuse me, have not asked them to do chores in the past. So know that there may be some discomfort with this process.
So check out our other podcast about consistency, because being consistent with that's definitely going to help. In the comments below, tell us what chores your children have. All right, guys. Thanks. We once again appreciate you guys hanging out with us and listening to us. Go check out our blog at guthrieFamily.blog. Sign up to be a part of the community, and we'll talk to you next time.